to the Children's Overview and Scrutiny Committee. We are currently waiting for a third councillor, so this meeting can go ahead in quorum. So we are going to pause this meeting until that councillor arrives, and when he does, the meeting will proceed. Thank you very much. And welcome back. We've got Councillor Nardi has now joined us, so we can get underway with the meeting. I'm Councillor Adam Carter and I'll be chairing this committee. I'd like to remind everyone that this is being webcast on the Council's website. Officers attending virtually, can you please use the raise your hand option, and Rhiannon will let me know when you have done so. I want to move on to item 1 now, apologies for absence. Rhiannon, do we have any apologies for absence?
Yes, we do. We've got apologies from Councillor Coxall, Councillor Kerrin, Councillor Panjala and Councillor Snell and Michelle Lucas.
Thank you. Moving on to item 2, the minutes. I move that the minutes of the Children's Services ONS Committee held on the 16th of June 2022 to be approved as a correct record. Are there any comments on the accuracy of the minutes? No. The minutes are approved. Item 3, items of urgent business. I have not agreed any items of urgent business, so we move on to item number 4, declarations of interest. Does any member wish to declare an interest? No. All right, moving on then. Item number 5, the Youth Cabinet update. Can I ask Molly Quincy, who's joining us remotely, to provide an update, please, to the committee?
Thank you, Chair. So the Youth Cabinet has been recently working on things like the Make Your Mark campaign and the Thurrock Teenage Mental Health Walk thing. So in February, the Make Your Mark campaign took place where the Thurrock young people voted on a topic they cared about the most. Results of the national voting were released in early March. Around 400,000 young people voted for the health and wellbeing, which was identified as the biggest issue facing young people in the UK. At the Thurrock Youth Cabinet working group meetings, members have been exploring ideas on how they can support and promote the theme of health and wellbeing to Thurrock young people. One of the ideas was to run a wellbeing walk over the summer holidays. Over the past few months, members have worked to set up the walk, including creating posters promoting the opportunity, planning the walk route and questions and answers about the mental health to raise awareness. The walk took place on Wednesday, the 25th of July at Grangewaters Outdoor Education Centre, in which a group of 16 young people walked around the lake and spoke about mental health and what it means to them on the route. The day was a great success with lots of discussions about well-being, young people sharing their thoughts and feeling connected to others. Members would like to run another well-being walk later in the year. Our work on health and well-being will continue with more projects and campaigns soon. And interview panel opportunities. Youth Cabinet members have had the opportunity to sit on numerous interview panels this year. The most recent one was for the recruitment of the Assistant Director for Regeneration and Place Delivery in early July. 2 Cabinet members found the experience to be enlightening. They enjoyed sitting on the panel being a part of the selection process. It provided them with some valuable insight to how interviews take place. All good experience for when they will eventually go for interviews as young adults themselves. And the Thurrock Youth Cabinet mid-year elections outcome. The Thurrock Youth Cabinet chairperson has recently left due to finding and moving on to full-time employment. Members are thankfully for all the work and commitment during her time with us. A mid-year election will be held in September. A new vice chairperson and new chairperson have been elected. And the British Youth Council June Convention. Unfortunately, during the BYC convention was cancelled due to the rail strikes taking place. The day was an opportunity for young people to network with other areas, attend workshops, listen to guest speakers, join campaign workshops on health and votes at 16, make your mark focus sessions and much more. The event was rescheduled for October 8th in London. However, this has since been cancelled due to further rail strikes. We are now looking forward to the House of Commons annual sitting instead on the 4th of November. We are hoping that our MIP will have the opportunity to speak at the event and the annual conference in July 22. At the end of July, the UK Youth Parliament and annual conference took place at the whole university. Thurrock's MIP attended the event to represent Thurrock Youth Cabinet. Here is a short paragraph summarising his experience of the weekend. On Friday the 22nd July, I arrived at Hull to a breezy check-in, oriented myself to my room, collected my lunch and eat with some other MIPs from other regions. I enjoyed opening the ceremony with politicians in the Bank of England Youth Forum, Joe Seddon. Then, the regions and nation sessions with everyone in the Eastern region discussing what we have done, what we plan to do, and our policies. We would be speaking in the following days. I enjoyed a relaxing evening of dinner and activities and with newly made friends. On Saturday, I had several sessions of the big fight and with multiple opportunities to speak in sport or against other motions. On Sunday, I spoke on my motion. It passed with an overwhelming majority of 96%. All in all, it was an amazing experience with lots of networking, debate and fun. Moving forward, I am planning meetings with various politicians regarding my projects, running a focus group with children's schools with moderate and severe learning disabilities and completing things already in motion. And work on the horizon for the Youth Cabinet, linking with a local plan manager for members to have an input in the emerging local plan strategy, Youth Cabinet recruit drive, linking with comms team to explore the development of a Youth Cabinet podcast and letter to promote our work and message. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much for your report, Molly. You've clearly put a lot of work and effort into that, and I think this committee is very thankful for that. It's very interesting to hear that the walk went down so well. Is there going? I heard you say a walk later in the year. Is that going to be in other locations or Grange Waters?
I think we'll probably do it at Grange Waters, but yeah.
Hi, I'm Angela. I'm the lead for Youth Cabinet. I can help Molly with that question. I think the intention is hopefully towards the new year that we would run another walk. As Molly mentioned, the Make Your Mark campaign for this year is around health and wellbeing. Our MYP is working on more projects around that theme. So there will be hopefully another walk very soon and other work that will come out of that.
That's very fantastic to hear. Does any other member have any questions? Councillor Anderson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your report, Molly. It says that Thurrock's MYP introduced a motion at the annual conference and it passed with a majority of 96%. Do we know what that was? What was that all about?
Was it about?
It was the drink spiking.
Yes, right. The drink spiking. Yes, I thought of it.
Yeah, so it was around drink spiking. It was quite an overwhelming vote, actually. He did really well. And we're going up to the House of Commons on the 4th of November. He has put another speech forward to do career paths. So we're hoping he's actually going to be voted to speak at the House of Commons. So hopefully at the next meeting, the ONS meeting, we can update you on how that all went. So we'll look forward to that.
Thank you. Sounds great.
Thank you very much. Councillor Narji.
Thank you very much, everyone. Apologies for coming in late. I was stuck in traffic. I'm here today to represent Councillor Kosher, am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not a member of this committee, but I just want to ask one question. What is the composition of the Youth Cabinet? And also, how is the Youth Cabinet recruited? How are they recruited? Thank you very much.
Sometimes they recruit through schools, like schools pick a student to then go and represent as part of the Thurrock Youth Cabinet.
Mm-hmm. So the makeup of the Youth Cabinet is that they are majority are aged between 11 and 17. And the idea is that they're a group of young people from different backgrounds, establishment schools in the area, youth groups. And the idea is that they come together to be the voice of young people within Thurrock. So we're a kind of a vehicle for that. And in terms of the recruitment, Molly's right. We generally do that through schools, mostly through the school council, but sometimes I do get people contact me directly saying I've heard about it, and then I would go and speak to them and talk about what their passion is and why they wish to join. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Another question, are they allowed to attend maybe cabinet meetings or possibly full council meeting? Maybe to get an idea?
Sorry, which meetings? That we've got our chairperson, Ashley, he attends the 11 to 19 or 25 strategy meeting. Obviously, Molly attends this one. But if anyone wants to come in, any MPs wish to visit us, then you are more than welcome to do so. We've actually got hopefully a planned visit from the mayor in our November monthly meeting, and another councillor, I believe, Councillor Johnson.
Right. Thank you very much. I think it's a great initiative. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Does any other member have any questions? Well, thank you very much, and again, thank you for the report. It was very informative.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
And you don't have to stay for the whole meeting if you don't want to, but you're more than welcome to if you do want to.
Okay, lovely. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Not sure why I turned my mic off just then. There's no recommendations on that report, so we'll move on to item number 6, which is the report on annual complaints from children's social care on pages 21 to 24. And can I ask Rebecca Brooks to present the report, please?
Evening all. I know that you'll all have had sort of a chance to familiarise yourselves now with the report, so I won't go through it line by line, but I think there's some key points just to highlight really for everybody to take away, and then obviously for any questions. The report appendix starts on page 25 of the pack, and that first slide that you'll see highlights activity levels compared to the previous year. So you'll see from that complaints have increased on the previous year from 8 to 15 this reporting period. However, volumes are still low. And if you look at the benchmarking that we've carried out in section 12 of this appendix, you'll see that actually our figures really are quite low. So there's a benchmarking piece under section 12 of the appendix. Section 2 of the appendix, so that's page 26 of your pack, shows that 57% of complaints were upheld for this period, which equates to 8 out of the 14. This percentage figure is high, but the numbers in scope are obviously quite low, so that's why the percentage seems so high. Section 2 also shows that 80% of the complaints were responded to within time frame, which is 12 out of the 15. So that's really strong and is an improvement on last year's rate of 75%, which is good news. You'll also notice from this slide that there were no escalations beyond stage 1, which is again really positive. If you look then at section 6 of the appendix, which is sorry, it's not page 9. Bear with me a second. Sorry, so section 6, which is page 33 of the report, you'll see that there were also no escalations to the local government ombudsman. So this is again really positive and suggests that we're effectively dealing with complaints at stage 1, which is excellent news because we're not seeing those escalate either internally or externally with the ombudsman. We've also got within the pack under section 3, which is page 27 of the pack, some good examples of learning from upheld complaints, which is really important. And if you look at section 11 of that appendix, which is page 36 of the pack, you'll see that there are some examples of external compliments as well, which is also really positive. So the overall theme of the report is that it's really positive, although a slight increase on volumes last year. But as I've sort of mentioned at the start, the numbers are still relatively low, especially when comparing to the other councils that we've benchmarked against.
Thank you very much for your report, Rebecca. It's very informative, and like you say, it's overall quite a positive report.
Definitely.
I was quite interested on where we've got the volume of representations on page 25. Everything's gone up, like compliments, initial feedbacks and complaints, and I was wondering if that was part of a scheme to improve the availability of external compliments and complaints, or if anything along those lines, really. So was there any move towards that?
We have got some comms in terms of how somebody can make a compliment and also how they can complain. I know as well that during sort of social worker visits and stuff, the complaints process is touched upon to make sure that people are aware of that, which is obviously, you know, something we're being quite open and honest about. So we're trying to promote that, make people aware at all stages that they can complain if they do have an issue.
Fantastic, thank you very much for that. It's very nice to see compliments outweigh complaints.
Definitely.
To be honest, it's quite a rare thing, because I often find when things are going good, not many people would say it as when things are going bad. So
absolutely.
So yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that, Councillor Anderson.
Thank you for the report, Rebecca. Again, firstly, I just wanted to thank you for the benchmarking in the report, the comparisons to. I remember last year at this committee, a member of the committee actually specifically asked for that, and you said you'd go away and look at that going forward. Thank you for including that. My question was just around the initial feedback. The initial feedback has actually seen a big drop off, and I wondered why you thought that may be.
Yeah, so initial feedback tends to follow sort of a slightly different path to complaints. It's for sort of a minor issue, such as maybe a social worker parking across a neighbour's drive when they visit, or maybe their phone wasn't on silent during a visit. So it's something that we would assess to not be a complaint specifically. They have dropped off with no sort of clear indication as to why that is, other than the fact that maybe we've learned from the feedback that we've had before, which I would say was another positive. If that's dropped off because people are no longer doing those small little things that have led to that feedback, it would suggest that we've learned from what's come out of these reports before.
Thank you very much for that. Does any other member have any questions?
Yeah, we'll try something.
Councillor Renard.
I just try my luck. Thank you very much. I'm just looking at your benchmark on page 13. Thurrock has 15 complaints. Sorry, page 37.
Yeah.
Thurrock has got 15 complaints received. That was between 20 and 2021. Could that be an old data? Right. Yeah. And Croydon 148, Haringey 25, Hounslow 19. We got the lowest. Why is this? Is it because we're doing very well in our service, or could be probably because residents weren't fully involved?
I mean, yeah, it could be down to service performance. I mean, I don't know enough about those other councils to know how well their complaints processes are promoted, and whether it's the same processes as ours, to be able to say the exact reasoning behind that. But we were quite sort of pleasantly surprised when we received those figures back as to how our performance was, because it obviously is very positive overall, and that the numbers do show that, you know, the number of complaints, although they've gone up this year, are still really, really low in terms of volume.
Okay, thank you very much. Well answered. Thanks.
Thank you for the report. Does any member have any more questions? Yeah, Councillor Anderson.
Do you think there's anything we could do better in terms of advertising sort of our complaints process? Not because we want to sort of give off the vibe that we get loads of complaints, but just in case, you know, residents aren't too aware. Is there anything better we could do with that?
I think that we, you know, we've obviously got quite a good section on the website about the complaints process, and I know that it's something as well that the social workers sort of have information on that they're able to give out during kind of child assessment processes and that kind of stuff. I know that it's referenced then. There's also a complaints leaflet that raises awareness of complaints as well as compliments, and that's handed out during meetings, home visits, that kind of stuff. It's also sent out when we issue any proceedings. So I think we promote it quite well, to be honest. I think it's out there. It's certainly not difficult to find.
Janet? Sorry.
Yeah, probably repeating some of what's been said there, but we worked really closely last year to develop our complaints leaflet jointly with Rebecca and Lee in that team to make sure that young people, parents, anybody we're working with is absolutely clear about how to make a complaint and make compliments as well, because there's some good work going on, because we know that it's really important for us to have feedback in terms of what we're doing, how we're doing it, and to help us improve, really. So we are really keen to have feedback, and those complaints leaflets have been developed to make sure that happens.
Thank you very much. Does any other member have anything to say or anything to ask? No? All right, well, we turn to the, thank you. We turn to the recommendations on page 21. That is that the 1.1, that the Children's Overview and Scrutiny Committee consider and note the report. Noted? Noted. Fantastic. So with that, we move on to item 7, which is the fostering recruitment update on pages. Fostering recruitment update on pages 39 to 61. And can I ask Dan Jones to introduce the report? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Good evening. The report provides an overview of our recruitment activity and progress in recruiting foster carers for Thurrock Council. As you can see from the graph at the top of page 2, fostering is the primary means in which we provide care to look after children, and our current fostering services represents roughly about half of the fostering placements available. We set out some of the national context, which is challenging for local authorities. Independent agencies like Ofsted are reporting that demand for foster care is exceeding the number of carers available nationally, and that people are more likely to inquire about fostering but less likely to proceed with an application. In July 22, the Care Review was published, and this is one of the themes that they picked up on, and the recommendation from that national review is that there should be a centrally led recruitment campaign for foster carers, seeking to recruit 3,000 additional carers each year for the next 3 years, which is an incredibly challenging target nationally. The report sets out our local offer to carers, which is competitive, and they have the additional advantage of a council tax waiver if they're able to foster children consistently throughout the year. Like other local authorities in the region, we are successful in recruiting foster carers, but equally we face a position where a number of carers are coming to the natural end of their fostering life or leaving foster care for good reasons, and they're set out there. We talk about our sort of journey, if you like, through fostering, so how many we've managed to approve, and I'm pleased to say that in this month we will be having 2 more approvals come to fostering panel. The Appendix and 2.6 onwards set out our recruitment activity and the things we're doing. We've been fortunate to have some really good links with community groups and some elected members, perhaps some of whom in this committee and those who aren't, who have been really supportive with their own community links, so that our fostering recruitment team has been able to go into mosques and other places within the community that elected members have direct links with. And that's really been encouraging in terms of the applications and expressions of interest we're getting from those communities when we're able to reach them. So if there is anyone on this committee or any other elected members who do have those links, we would very much like to hear from you, and someone will be in touch to come out and arrange a recruitment event. Thank you.
I'll be sure to circulate that to councillors, Dan, if that's okay with you.
I'll be delighted.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your report. I am very much supportive of the work the recruitment campaign has done, and as we know, Thurrock is a bit ahead of the curve at this, as it did start before the social care review said that we need to recruit 3,000 foster carers nationally. And it's very positive to hear that 2 more are close to acceptance in Thurrock. I do have a question though in regards to on page 42, a total if you take the 2 data figures from April 2021, a total of 7 households had their approval ended due to standards of care concern. And I was worried, a bit concerned really. How many of these 7 were recruited as part of the recruitment campaign?
So I think only 1. To be honest, the standards of care issues can vary. They can be a result of a change of someone's circumstance, or they can be the result of a particular incident. So you might foster very well for a long period of time. However, there's a particular incident we need to look into, and sometimes that incident might mean you can't continue to foster. And that might be within your role as a foster carer, or it might be something outside of that. I think the important thing for us is that we maintain a safe service so that the carers we do have are suitable, and where there are standards of care issues, we deal with them. I think that just the other point I'd like to make is, we don't expect foster carers to be perfect. People will make mistakes, and where somebody cannot continue fostering because of a standards of care issue, we have tried to address it and put as much as support in as possible to help them improve. But if that's not been successful, the standards of care issue is just too serious, then we progress it.
And I think we all welcome the Thurrock's commitment to safeguarding in that respect. It's a very positive report. We have had a loss overall, but my feeling is this has more been mitigated by the recruitment campaign than actually that we're falling. And what we should also remember is the number of people leaving care in Thurrock has gone up. So, I might have worded that wrong, but those familiar would know that we now have less people in care than we did a few months ago or a year ago, as the numbers have been dropping. So this is good news, and I very much welcome this. Does any other councillor have anything to say? No? Okay. Well, again, thank you very much for your report, Dan. And,
thank you.
I look forward to perhaps getting an update in 6 months or so. We might add that to the work programme a bit later on, or in next year sometime. So thank you very much.
That's absolutely fine. I'd be happy to come back. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll move to the recommendations on page 39. That are 1.1. Members are updated on the Thurrock's fostering recruitment strategy and its impact on the number of foster carer approvals. Noted? Agreed. Yeah. The next one's noted, so I got ahead of myself. Members note the marketing activities being undertaken, so opportunities are created to increase the recruitment of foster carers. Noted?
Noted. Yes, good.
Thank you. With that, we move on to item 8, report on the inspection of the Youth Offending Service 2022, found on pages 63 to 67. Can I ask Claire Moore to present this report, please?
Good evening, everybody. I'm not going to go through the report word by word. I'm sure that you have all had the opportunity to read the report and also to read the overall inspection report from HMIP. So between the 16th and the 20th of May this year, the Council's Youth Offending Service was inspected by Her Majesty's Inspectorate of Probation. The service on the whole was rated as good, and the inspectors found that the service has outstanding leadership, does excellent work in assessing what intervention is required to help prevent young people from reoffending. The inspection has 13 judgments overall that cover 3 domains. 6 of those judgments were rated as outstanding, 4 rated as good, and 3 as requires improvement. So whilst the report, the inspection report overall was very positive, HMIP did note that there are some areas for continued improvement, and there are 8 recommendations to further improve practice for children receiving a service from the YOS partnership. Those recommendations have been put into an action plan which was presented to the Youth Crime Governance Board on the 15th of September and submitted to HMIP on the 16th of September. Those three that requires improvement grades are within one domain, and that is for out-of-court disposals. We've already commenced work to address those issues and have changed the way we manage and assess those out-of-court disposal cases. So that's pre-court, pre-court. It's an alternative to court, where it's looked at as a voluntary intervention. So that's an out-of-court disposal. And that's really all I have to say about the report. We were really pleased overall with the outcome. Obviously, we've identified those areas that need further improvement, and we are acting upon those.
Well, thank you very much for the report, Claire. Very much welcome. Quite a few outstandings there and some goods. We've got the three requires improvement. It's very welcome to hear that there's already an action plan in place to deal with that. Does any councillor have any questions? Councillor Anderson.
Are we able to get sight of that action plan at all?
What we've done with the action plan is we have an overall delivery plan for the Youth Offending Service that is part of the Youth Justice Board plan. We have incorporated those recommendations into that plan, but if you would like to see them on a separate document, I'm quite happy to share that.
Yes, please.
Yes, we'll very much welcome that to be circulated amongst the committee. Does any other councillor have any questions?
Yes.
Yes, Councillor Nardi.
Thank you, Claire. Good report. 13 judges inspected. 6 were rated as standing. 4 good, and 3 requires improvement. What sort of? I know we have asked for the action plan, which you haven't disclosed at the moment. Is there any support you would like to need from us? Something you'd like us to help out with in any way? Maybe is it resources or what it is? Is something we can deliberate and see if we can make recommendation for that to help?
I'm not sure at this present time if there is. I mean, we do have Councillor Johnson as part of our board, that helps to contribute towards our plans and our development of the OS. But I will definitely bear that in mind as we're working through the plan if we need additional resources.
And also, finally, I know in your action plan, how long is it going to take you to go through the whole process?
Well, the action plan was sent off on the 16th of September. We still haven't had confirmation back from HMIP that action plan has been approved. As I've said, we've incorporated that within our larger delivery plan, and we have timescales built in. A lot of them we've already made the changes for. We've definitely changed the way that we do our out-of-court disposal panel with assessing children before they come to panel and increasing the amount of representation on that panel. There is some other areas, as you've seen, out of the 8 recommendations that include some additional training, some additional data to be provided to the board, and that's all been scheduled in now throughout the year plan.
Right. Thank you very much. Thanks.
One more from me. On page 80, we've got the race and ethnicity figures. There seems to be an over-representation of the BAME community. I know this is quite common across the board, but what is Thurrock doing in particular to address this, or is it taking part in a nationwide programme to help stop the over-representation? Sorry, that's a bit of a tongue twister for me, it seems. The over-representation of the BAME community in the youth offending service.
Well, firstly, we monitor our data in relation to the over-representation of, in particular, young black males in the criminal justice system. We have set up a task and finish group where representatives across the whole of the criminal justice system are part of that task and finish group to look specifically at Thurrock and the resources that we have to work with those young people. We're doing a participation exercise with young black males that are known to Thurrock YOS, with the hope of gaining some understanding about the services that we provide and the resources we have to meet the needs of that particular cohort. I'm part of the Essex Criminal Justice Board, and they have just completed phase 1 of a research project that they're doing, particularly around our BAME numbers within the criminal justice system, and they're just moving into phase 2. It is a nationwide issue, and what we are trying to do is to ensure that we are able to intervene earlier with those young people from the BAME communities. We'd like to see more of them on our out-of-court disposal panel rather than going directly to court. So we need to work with the police, we need to work with the courts. All of this is in progress, but it's not something that we can do in isolation. This has to be a really multi-agency influence, but it is something that we monitor regularly, quarterly, at the board with our numbers.
Well, thank you for your very detailed answer there, and I think we do all appreciate that this is a nationwide problem, and whatever Thurrock can do, we should do, but we can't. There is things that are going to have to be done nationally as well to address this. Does any other councillors have anything to ask?
Yeah, I think.
Councillor Nard.
Yeah, you did say particularly young black male. Is this program specifically targeting young black male in terms of delivering?
Talking about statistics on page 80 there. So, sorry, I didn't say the page number. Page 80.
Page 80. Yeah, I think that question still applies if you want to answer that question for me.
Our current focus is on young black males.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does any other member have anything to ask? No. With that, we turn to the recommendations on page 64. That at 1.1, that the Children's Services Overview and Scrutiny Committee consider the inspection report of Thurrock Young Offending Service and provide comment or challenge in respect to the outcomes. I think that's been well commented on. That the areas for improvement, 1.2, that the areas for improvement and recommendations identified by HMIP are considered by the Children's Overview and Scrutiny Committee and support offered to deliver against these recommendations. Okay, agreed. Okay, with that, we go to item 9, which is items raised by Thurrock Local Safeguarding Partnership Board on pages 121 to 126. Can I ask Priscilla, Bruce and Anne to introduce the report, please?
Good evening, Chair. Good evening, everyone. I have submitted my report and I will just pick out some of the highlights from the report in updating this committee on the work of the Local Safeguarding Children's Partnership. So as part of our neglect priority, we have a neglect strategy that runs from 2022 to 2024, and under that strategy we will be delivering a neglect conference on Tuesday the 6th of December. The conference, we're pleased to say, will be led as the keynote speaker will be Dr. Prakash Srivastrava, who is known to have created and devised the Graded Care Profile Assessment Tool. Now, that tool was later developed by the NSPCC and has been used in delivering assessments throughout the partnership within Thurrock. And so we're glad to say that Dr. Srivastrava will be leading the conference. As part of the conference, we will be running a number of workshops that look at the life cycle of neglect, so neglect in a child, in a baby, right through to what neglect looks like if it's not tackled in the teenage years. And so that's the update on some of the neglect strategy work. In July this year, we held our launch of the Safe to Play campaign. So the Safe to Play campaign we launched in partnership with the National Working Group. That campaign is to identify and to look at many physical activity and sports providers within the borough and to make sure that they have their duty in terms of making sure that they have safeguarding arrangements in place to make sure all children within their care are safe. And that runs from having a safeguarding policy, having a safeguarding lead person, making sure their policy and their procedures are available for parents and carers to view should they need to, and make sure that their children are safe. Part of that campaign is also looking at how schools, looking at the providers that schools have that rent their sites to deliver some of those activities, and making sure that any pop-up groups, such as those that may operate in community venues or faith buildings, are also picked up as well. So we ask schools to let us know which providers they have in their schools and which providers they know about, because parents and carers talk about it, or children talk about those provisions that are provided to them. So we had quite a good turnout at that conference, and that conference is not a one-off situation. It's something that we'll do ongoing to raise the awareness within the community. Moving down, as part of our violence and vulnerability priority, and also listening to the voice of the children, we delivered, in partnership with the Participation Engagement Officer that sits within Children's Social Care, a Girls' Safety Day. Now, this was on the back of girls telling us that they felt unsafe in certain situations, and they felt quite vulnerable and needed something around awareness, skills and experience and knowledge to help them to feel safer whenever they're out about in the community. And so that's something that we delivered in partnership with Essex Police, with members of Children's Social Care in terms of information sharing. We also invited the Health and Wellbeing Service to be there as a backup and to create some safe spaces for children should they wish to talk about some incidents or some experiences that they had, or to be able to provide support to those children as well. All in all, that day was a very well-received day. I spoke to one of the children because I was present at that day, and one of the girls had said to me that one of the benefits of coming to that workshop was that when Essex Police gave their input in their presentation, she felt that she could open up to the police. She felt that if there was an incident, she would be pleased to go to the police and divulge that incident. However, before the day, she didn't feel as confident. And I'm guessing, she didn't say this, but I'm guessing it was because of some of the media coverage of some of the women that had been attacked in the media. So that was a good outcome. If that child felt that she could come and talk to the police about an incident that she had experienced, and that was a good thing. Moving down to, we recently published the Serious Youth the thematic review into serious youth violence and gang-related activity in June. That's a piece of work that had been ongoing for a period of time, investigating and looking at an incident that had happened. That report is now published and on the website. We have had a multi-agency task and finish group to look at the recommendations that has come out of that report, and I'm pleased to say that we have now got a draft action plan that addresses all of the recommendations and has actions that sit alongside each recommendation, so that we know that what we need to do to plug the gaps to make sure that that action plan is fully embedded and fully implemented and then embedded. That action plan has not been signed off yet. It's going through the LSEP governance process. Once it has been signed off, then that will be one of our main pieces of work. Having said that, though, the multi-agency task and finish group have taken those actions back into their organisations, the actions that they're responsible for, and have started work on those actions. So it's not as if we have to wait for the action plan to be signed off. Some of that work has started already, pending sign-off. In terms of the national reviews. So there have been a number of national reviews that have been published. So we know that the national review from Starr, Hobson, Arthur Labinjo Hughes, Child Q, and also Kyrell, which is a review from Solihull. We know that although those recommendations aren't for us as Thurrock, we look at those recommendations as learning for us as well, to make sure that we can assure ourselves as a partnership that we have things in place to make sure that we can mitigate as far as possible those incidents happening to children in Thurrock. And so as a health check, what we've done is we've pulled together a multi-layered action plan with all those recommendations on, and looked at our multi-agency partners and relevant agencies and asked the question, this is a recommendation, what do we already have in place? If there are any gaps, what could we put in those gaps in order to make sure that our children are safe? And so that's a piece of work that's ongoing to make sure that we are assured as a partnership. In terms of training and development, when we look at some of the outcomes from audits, from national reviews, from local reviews, we have identified adultification, which came up from the Child Q review. We've identified Think Family as a whole partnership learning area, and also unconscious bias. So those are courses that we will be looking to deliver in this financial year. And then you'll see that we've listed some 7-minute briefings that we've devised over the summer period. They sit on our website and are open to all practitioners to pick up and learn from. In terms of the update with our case reviews, many of our action plans are now complete, embedded, and implemented and embedded. And so the work that we will do now is just to go back to agencies just to make sure that what they're doing is still ongoing and it hasn't just been a tick box exercise. So we go back and ask for feedback on actions that they've done. We've got one action plan that's ongoing, which is the Shay and Ashley Local Health Review. Your report will say that we've got 3 actions completed, but since there was a delay in delivering this committee, we've now completed 5. So it's a total of 5 actions and 9 remaining, which form part of our ongoing daily work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all the detail you've provided there. It's certainly feel very well informed now. I would like to ask briefly, you said there was a draft action plan at the moment. Do we have a timeline for when that will be signed off at all?
Is this for the thematic review? Yes. So at the moment, what we've done is it's been signed. Well, it's been signed off by the Task and Finish group, but then it needs to go through the governance structures. And what that means is it goes into the agenda for that group's meeting. So it needs to go through 3 groups, and so we're looking at probably about November for it to be signed off, unless there are comments.
Could that be circulated to the committee once it has been approved, the action plan?
Yes, we can do that.
Does any other councillor have any questions? No? Yeah, Councillor Anarji.
Thank you, Priscilla. It's just about monitoring safeguarding across all these designated areas and agencies. My question is, how do you monitor this safeguarding, their policies and activities in all these areas where children or orphans are concerned? How do you do that?
So in terms of our action plans, they're monitored. Sorry, apologies. In terms of the action plans that we devise out of reviews, those are monitored through our governance structure. So we have many subgroups that are responsible for monitoring. So within the business team, we look at the actions that are sent out. They're all in the action plan. There's timescales attached to them. And every meeting, we make sure that we've updated those action plans. And the action plans are sent as part of the papers to the subgroup. The subgroup is then allowed to have a look at those action plans, ask questions. If there are any delays in those timescales, they'll pick them up with us in terms of monitoring, and we go back to those agencies. But we do chase agencies in terms of actions, but our agencies are very good at getting back to us because we've got agency representatives that sit across subgroups, then also the strategic partners who you will know are from Essex Police, Health and Children's Social Care. They are the leaders. That they will also chase if some of the actions are not progressing to timescale.
Thank you very much. And my last question is just how often do you meet to review their policies or maybe case studies with these agencies?
Okay, so in terms of agencies, we have our Section 11 audits that go out biannually. So every other year we send out a full audit and they need to complete the audit form, which has various different questions on that they need to reply to us. We then look at those, analyse the report. If there are any gaps or if there are any glaring areas where an agency hasn't got anything in place, we will write back to them and say, for example, some of these areas you're doing well, some of these areas you need to do more. We are there to support you, and so we provide that extra support. With schools, they complete Section 157, 175 audits, and we do the same thing with those as well. And also we go in and do roundtable discussions with the frontline practitioners just to ensure that whatever's in the audit, we know that's meeting the frontline as well. So that's a kind of a 360 approach.
Thank you very much.
Does any other member have any questions about the report? No. All right. Oh, I do. Sorry, I do apologise. I was told you had your hand up, Jenny. It completely went from my mind. So please do it. Please go on.
No problem at all. Hello, everyone. I'm Jenny Coles, Independent Chair of the Board. That really detailed and really good summary that Priscilla's given you. The only thing I'd want to add is that we're beginning work with the Adult Safeguarding Board on transitional safeguarding, so young people and young adults up to the age of 25 and safeguarding issues for them, and that is related to the review we did on serious youth violence. So I just wanted the committee to be aware that we're working closely with our adult colleagues as well in terms of safeguarding. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. With that, does anyone have it? I'll ask again, just in case any more have come up. No. We'll move to the recommendations then on page 122. That the committee note the update on the work of the LSCP and the progress made on action plans to date. Noted. We now move on to agenda item 10, which is the work programme. I haven't missed anything. No. Do members have anything to add to the work programme? I'll take your silences as a no. Yeah, silence in agreement. Fair enough. Yes, Janet.
Just wanted to wonder if we could add to the next committee performance report. We didn't have one this month, so if we could have one on the next month from Children's Social Care.
Yes, I'm okay with that. Yes. Yep. Yes, brilliant. Thank you. If we could add that to November's meeting. Unless anyone else has got anything, I'd like to thank you all for coming today, and sorry for the delay early on. It doesn't usually happen, but thank you for everyone for your patience tonight. And that concludes the business of the meeting, and I now declare the meeting closed at 8:09.